I am so excited to see so many people interested in school social work. We are really a growing profession, and we've had a lot of job openings this spring and expect to continue to have them over the summer, and would love to have anyone interested in this rewarding field to join us. Schools need social workers. We do all the things that you've been trained to do, working with students and families, and being the important link between the school system and the home. So I'm going to go ahead and invite my colleagues here to introduce themselves, and then we'll get rolling. How about Tina? You want to go next?
Sure. I'm Tina Cook. I graduated from University of Washington, Seattle in 1992 with my master's in social work. I also went to PLU for the bachelor's. And I worked in schools for 24 years, 21 years in the middle school, junior high level, and 3 years in elementary, which was a whole new experience, completely different expectations. And I recharged my batteries in those 3 years. Then I retired, but I had practicum students for many years. And so the University of Washington Tacoma asked me to be a roving field instructor for those folks that didn't have an MSW on site. And then I've been teaching the social work in schools course each year for this that you need for certification and to be able to work in schools. So and I'm currently in Vancouver, Washington, being able to work remotely and with the help of technology. So I'm delighted to be here. Michelle, do you want to go next?
Sure, thank you. Hi, good evening. My name is Michelle Bagshaw, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am a field faculty member at the University of Washington School of Social Work in Seattle, and I see some familiar names. It's great to have you here. I have worked for a really long time, over a couple decades, and working with students, supporting students who are seeking school certification. I work in the education office and work with students in field school placements, generalist specialized placements, and I'm a huge fan of school social work, and really delightful to have this opportunity this evening for Tina and Liz to share more about their work with you. Jeremy?
Thanks. My name is Jeremy Arp. I use he, him pronouns. I serve as the executive director for the National Association of Social Workers, Washington State Chapter. We work in tandem with the School Social Work Association to support initiatives for social workers, enhancing the workforce, but also supporting school social workers in the workforce too. So we're here as an adjunct to the School Social Work Association, which is that's their primary focus, but we work in tandem on things. So want to make sure to show our support and show those resources that we have available to school social workers and those interested in that field. So thank you so much for having me. Liz.
Well, I'll just wrap up and pass it over to Tina, but I did forget to say that I was a school social worker in the Spokane area for 25 years, and then the South Sound area for 5. And so have kind of experienced the field in a couple different parts of the state, and would just be happy to answer any questions as we go along the way. So Tina, over to you.
All right. I will share my screen. And I forgot to mention that I'm also a member of the Washington Association of Social Workers, and I'm the membership chairman. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. So tonight's presentation, we wanted to just hit a few important things that we think are important around school social work and in exploring that and getting certified for that. So are you seeing anything more than just the slideshow, or are there some things up here that are interfering at all?
No, I think it looks
Good.
good. I'm seeing your slide. One thing I'd like to invite everyone to do is if you would put your name in the chat. I see somebody prompted me to do that. If everyone here would be interested in putting your name in the chat, and if you are a student or already practicing in another field, we'd love to know that. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to put them in the chat as they come up, and Michelle will monitor those and throw them out to us.
Yeah, and if you want to add what university you're at, we're quite interested in knowing that. So tonight we're going to cover certification requirements, kind of the application process for that, some legislative action that has happened, and organizations that collaborate, which Jeremy's mentioned a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about jobs and salaries. So I want to start off talking about the school categories for employment under the umbrella of a certificated employee. And as most of you think about schools, you think about teachers, and teachers are certificated employees defined by the RCW there. But also certificated employees are also educational staff associates. That's another little category. And as you can see, social workers, school counselors, school psychologists, school nurses, school occupational therapists, school physical therapists, and audiologists, pathologists are included in this. There are also, you can get a substitute ESA, and I think there's now I have something in my way here. Okay, a conditional ESA. So if you look, they'll give you descriptions of those. And I have a friend who's an MSW, has a school certificate, but she also holds a substitute teaching certificate. So she chooses to be a substitute because of her family situation. And she's done a lot of work as a school social worker, as a substitute, and as a school, as a teacher. And so she's been doing a lot of that kind of thing back and forth. So there's lots of different opportunities through certification. And suddenly I'm froze up for some reason. There we go. Okay. The requirements, if you're in the state of Washington here, you need a master's degree in social work, and you must submit your official transcripts. And you should have completed a course approved by the Professional Education Standards Board. So that's a university course, like the one that I teach every year. Or if you have not taken that course, there are courses available through the ESD, which I'll describe in a slide or two later. And you have to do fingerprint checking. And but if you are outside of the state of Washington and you're coming in, there's some more information about experience and things like that to get the certificate. And so you could dive deeper into that. But I have a feeling most of us are in the state of Washington right now. So, but here's the link to that. And your first step would be to get on the website, and you have to create an application, on the e-certification homepage, and create a profile for yourself so that you can upload all the information that they're going to need. And it will look like this when you get into the website. Now, again, if you did not take the certification class through a university, then there's a 15-hour course you can take through the educational service districts. And I read that they offer them, pretty much every quarter. And so there's one coming up, starts in June. It's pretty close, so I would sense that that's full, but you can be watching for those if you need to take this course. And I have known people that got hired without the course. They just had to take it. It was pending. So there was a way that they could get hired and still take the course after hire. So you work with your HR department, work with your person that's going to hire you, and work through that process. Questions so far?
Hi, yeah. I was just wondering, are other people able to see the next slides? I'm still on or it's still showing the school employee categories for me, or is that still where we're at?
Oh, okay.
Emma, thank you.
No problem. Maybe it's just me too. I'm not sure.
Do you want me to start over with a new share?
I see the same slide as well. So it's not only you. I don't know. It says the school employee category.
The same goes for me.
I think it could stop the share and then restart it, Tina.
Okay. So what are you seeing now?
School employee category.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so thank you for letting us know.
No problem. Oh, there we go.
There we
Okay,
go.
now it's on a new slide.
There we go. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, there we go. Okay. So here is a slide for the requirements. And about the application and what it would look like when you're online there. And this is about the Educational Service District class to take if you have not done the university class. And, OSPI, the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, is the big office that is administers for the whole state of Washington. But within that, they have these little regional sort of districts. So that these are the service districts depending on where your school is that you're working in. And they offer trainings. There's lots of different supportive things that these districts offer schools. And so one of these things is this class that you would take if needed. And here's their contact information for all the districts in our state. Now, certification is different than licensure. So certification is so that you can work in the public school. Licensure is, something that many social workers want to get. Liz can speak to this because she's a licensed clinical social worker, and some jobs will post that directly that they want that in the school setting. Many of us did not get that and worked without licensure. But do know that the Washington Association of School Social Workers supports licensure, and we have a link here to a list of folks that can provide supervision during that process for you. And so that's a very, very valuable. We want to support folks as they are looking into that, and there may be more and more jobs where they're going to require that. Liz, did you want to chime in at all about that?
Sure. I know for myself, I sought licensure just because it's a great growth avenue. And then I did end up the last few years of my career working for Northwestern Public Schools, which has a mental health team. Everyone was licensed. One of our legislative priorities is to pursue direct services on IEPs for licensed folks, and then we can bill Medicaid for services. That's just not something Washington does yet. And so down the road in the future, licensure will open a lot of doors for school social workers and for kids with special needs.
Awesome.
And just to add another one of our priorities is to get legislation that will either require or motivate school districts to provide that supervision directly. And I know in Seattle, they're doing that now. It can be really expensive to try and get your licensure when you're paying out of pocket.
Right. So mentioning the Washington Association of School Social Workers, we wanted to invite you to become a member. And as a student, you can have free membership while you're a student. And so depending on also, if you are working in an agency right now, you have a reduced rate for our membership. So check us out on our website. And this is a picture of Liz and a former president, right, Aaron? And with our current superintendent of public instruction, Chris Rydall. Yeah.
And can I just say that in our organization, we have a lot of fun and we reach out to each other on a regular basis. We're a great sounding board. It can be kind of a challenge to go into a new field, and we have a lot of gatherings, and we're in the next 2 weeks having regional gatherings so that people can throw out, what are the barriers that are happening in the region, and what's in this schools, and what do people need support with? And so we just hope that you will look to us, and of course NASW. We do training, and it's important to connect somewhere where you can have support.
And again, there we go. So one of the perks of joining us is we have a members only page on Facebook. And this is a nice way to connect with each other, and we'll throw up job offering, postings, things like that, and events that are coming up. And so that's really important for us. I know that I've been involved in the School Social Work Week or Month celebration, and I get to send out fun goodies to everyone in our membership every year. We also have put together, Liz and I worked extensively on this. We put together an informational guide about school social work, which is the 2021 version is on our website right now, and we're updating it as we speak. And we're going to be sending this out soon. And so it really, yes.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. We do have a hand up.
Oh, great.
Jennifer.
Hi, sorry, I was 15 minutes late, so I apologize if someone has already asked this question. Can you give us a ballpark of the cost of licensure?
For me, for me, I was finding people were charging anywhere from $50 to $100 an hour. And so typically the supervisors are people in private practice who on the side offer supervision to new social workers. So that's why we're pursuing free licensure from school districts. And some school districts are doing that now, but when you have to have 130 hours of supervision, and pay $100 an hour, that really adds up. But that's the ballpark figure.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I wanted to point out that this guide, when you take a look at it, we've put in there, our social work model, descriptions of what social workers do, and it has been a good conversation or communication tool between social workers and administrators and personnel departments, so that they have a real clear understanding of what we do and what's available. So anyway, this is coming soon, the updated version. And we do a lot of advocacy through our association, and Liz is going to talk about our Legislative Action Committee.
We love doing policy work, and there's lots of opportunities as a school social worker to do that. Last year, this is a little statement about the school counseling bill. Last year, the school counselors, along with some legislators, proposed that this legislation that every school would have a school counseling plan, and only school counselors could deliver that. And it has some good things in it, with screening and ensuring that kids get the support they need. But the history of school social work has been that schools typically would decide for themselves if they want to hire a school counselor or a school social worker, or they post the job saying both professions can apply, and then they choose the applicant that they find best meets their needs. So this was a threat to our profession, and through our advocacy, we were able to get an amendment to that bill that said that any ESA can deliver the school counseling plan. So that opened it up to all of us who are in schools and doing that already. And then schools can continue to do their dual posting, so that if they choose to hire a school social worker, they can do that. That's part of what has helped Seattle post their next, what we were told was their next round of hiring would be to prioritize school social workers, because they have a lot of school counselors. And what we can bring to the table with schools is our focus on families, on our knowledge of making referrals in the community, and some of these other, really strong social work values that school counselors don't have. So that was a really important victory for us. This year, we got additional funding, a huge pot of money to fund more social workers in schools. So one example is that previously the state provided funding in middle schools for one social worker for every 72,000 students. And that's just the allocation. That's how they would calculate the money that would come from the state. So social workers were being hired anyway, but they weren't really getting that allocation from the state. So with this new legislation, they will fund one social worker for every 4,900 students, which isn't enough, but it was a huge move forward that every level, elementary, middle, and high school, got a lot more funding to hire more social workers. So we love going to the legislative hearings and pushing our case. And really, the Washington legislature this year has been very supportive of providing more support to students. So the other thing that we were successful with this year was getting a feature in the law where students with mental health issues can get excused absences. The law was kind of rigid before, like they had to have a health issue to have excused absences. And now that's relaxed some, so that students with mental health issues can get more support in their schools in that way. I could go on. the other one that we're really excited about is that we supported Representative Lisa Callan, who proposed legislation to do a needs assessment of our entire state mental health system and develop a strategic plan. I mean, our mental health system is broken. And so she stepped up and said, well, let's do a big study. What's broken, what's working, what's not working, and fix it. So we are very excited to be involved in the K-12 system piece of that, because as we know, students with mental health and emotional needs present first in the schools. And so we respond to that and want to be a big voice in educating our legislature about how that looks in schools and how we work with our kids and families. Oh, I'll shut up now.
Okay.
One of my favorite activities.
Oh. Thank you, Liz. Next, I wanted to let Jeremy talk a little bit about his role, and I see that's not. There we go. Are you seeing that it says NASW support? Is it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's funny, it kind of sticks on me here, so.
Oh, no worries. So thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to talk about NASW's connection to the School Social Work Association and ways that we support school social work as well. So we do a chapter and national events, both a national conference. Sometimes it does feature content specific to school social work. Usually that's, I think, the Washington Association of School Social Workers has had a regional conference, for example. When you're a school social worker, you need continuing education, as you do when you're licensed and as you do just being a social worker. So you'll look for things that are approved with as OSPI, that's the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, for OSPI clock hours. And so NASW and the School Social Work Association are both approved providers for that, as long as we design our curriculum to meet those requirements. So we do offer some networking events too at the chapter. They're called practice area networks. We talk about licensing every April through that mechanism, but we also talk to the schools too. So we're looking at making sure students and new professionals know about the licensing process here in Washington State. One of the things we hope to add is to talk a little bit about, hey, don't forget, if you want to be an ESA or a school social worker, here's that path too. And this is how the School Social Work Association and NASW can support you on that path. We do also do national awards and state level awards. Like Liz and Tina mentioned, Professional Social Work Month is every March. And so we do kind of an award ceremony. Folks from both associations likely do a lot of different events around the state. We do one big statewide one, which recognizes award winners from all over the place. So every once in a while, school social workers get together and make sure to nominate someone for those awards, including Social Worker of the Year. So keep an eye out for that stuff as you go through your social work career. It's a great way to get recognition. In addition, we do have specialty practice sections with NASW, including school social work, and then children, adolescents, and young adults. Those are two different sections. Basically, there's continuing education, online distance learning that you can take, and also some books and that you can see through those specialty practice sections. That workshop that this is building on with NASW National was part of that specialty practice section for school social work. NASW also helps develop standards for school social work services. That's updated every once in a while. And so I think the last update was quite some time ago now, Liz, Tina, and Michelle and friends. We are looking to make sure that all of our standards are updated every few years. So take a look at that. I can put a link in the chat when I'm done with my spiel here. Also, NASW is the author of the Code of Ethics. That changes every 3 years through a process called delegate assembly. And that is a process by which NASW members help make policy for the association. So whenever you see the code of ethics, make sure you have the most recent one, which is 2021. They did add self-care to the code of ethics, so now you have to take a vacation, which is great. They also kind of rewrote some standards around cultural competency and cultural awareness, et cetera. That language has been updated to be more inclusive too. Second to last thing that I'll say is NASW still offers credentials. We used to be kind of the before licensing statutes passed in every state. NASW's ACSW was kind of the voluntary credential that you would get. We have a whole litany of credentials, including the Certified School Social Work Specialist credential. And so that's something you can get, as Liz mentioned, developing as an employee, developing as a professional. It shows that you're dedicated. It'll require hours and continuing education to get that. Lastly, I encourage you to check out our website, socialworkers.org, for our national association, of which NASW Washington chapter is the administrative unit of. We do offer student memberships at a massive discount while you're a student. So I encourage you to take advantage before you graduate. And so much like the School Social Work Association, we're dedicated to our members. We're run by our members, and we do everything we can to support them throughout their career, from campus to career. And both would be great to have on your resume too. If you're a member of your professional societies and associations, it shows your dedication to future employers too. So that said, I can post a couple of things in the chat, especially the one linked to the standards for school social work services. And then I'll hand it back to Liz.
I actually think Tina is going next.
Oh, probably.
You tell me, Tina.
Yes, it's me. Thank
Okay.
you so much, though. That was very informative. Yes. Wonderful. Well, let's talk about jobs and salaries, things like that. This slide might be a little bit old, a few years old, but it gives you a sense that there, even before the legislation Liz is talking about that's encouraging more hiring of school social workers, these were the districts that had school social workers in their districts. So, remember that an MSW can fulfill a lot of different titles of school social work. You may not be called a school social worker, but there's all these different titles. And so sometimes MSWs get a little lost because they're called other titles. So, so be aware of that. I wanted to give you an example of the Kent School District collective bargaining agreement. So school districts, most school districts are unionized in our state. The tribal schools that I've been aware of are not unionized, but I think all the districts in our state of Washington are unionized. So they call them associations, Kent Association. And so I wanted to let you know that you can look at those bargaining agreements on the various district websites and see what their salary schedules look like. And here's an example of in Kent, what the basic pay is for certificated employees. So meaning when you hear sometimes on the news when they say, oh, there's a teacher's strike. Well, actually it's a certificated union strike because school social workers are in the same union under the same umbrella as the teachers are. So the certificated employee base salary here shows the vertical line is the number of years on the left, of experience. And then, of course, your educational level that you have, a master's degree with so many years past your master's degree of credits. And then you can see on the grid where you're placed on your salary.
So those of you who are about to graduate, you would be in this column that says MA. Your starting salary there looks like it would be, that's too tiny for me. Is it 66?
66.
6,000. If you have worked in an agency, you will get some credit for those years of experience. The state is in the process of updating all of those district contracts so that you're supposed to get credits. So say you worked in an agency for 5 years and you're just now going to move over to school social work, then you would be over here at 5 years under MA, looks like 69,000 for starting salary. Yeah, so you can go to a district if you want to work in the district where you live. You can go to their school district, call up their union website and look at their contract to see what their salary scale is. And it'll be a little bit different in each district.
And also there can be 1 or 2 additional salary scales depending on how the contract was negotiated. And often, for example, it might be for professional development hours. I remember we had that in Kent. It was a separate little contract for that. And also, you'll often hear the term TRI, and that stands for time, responsibility, and incentive pay. And that's another little separate contract that folks are can receive that, and that's a negotiated sort of thing. And sometimes districts have often that's the issue when districts strike, is usually that tri pay. So I've seen that. So this is the base salary. Know that it usually there's more couple other contracts that are part of the overall pay scale. And then there's some extra opportunities. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. We've got a couple questions, one from Jesus Mendoza and one from Emma Hewitt. Jesus, I saw your hand up first.
Yeah, I was just curious to see what it meant by like plus 15, plus 30.
Yes, that is the additional credits and clock hours, all that professional development passed. And so you should, I do remember that with the MSW, we were actually passed, it's hard to explain, you work with your HR department because you may have more credits than just the masters, basic masters with the MSW. So I think I started with, MA plus 20 or something like that. So once you get to like MA plus 45, then you get to move over in that line, and then your salary increases.
So I guess would the max MA be kind of like having your licensing?
Well, not necessarily with your license, although you may have, through that, you've developed more classes and more clock hours. But for me, I ended up with MA 90. When I retired, I was at the very max. And Liz was too. I can speak for her, I think. And that was just, it wasn't necessarily licensure. It was just taking more classes, more clock hours. And a lot of those are offered through the district. And really, like Jeremy was saying, all those sorts of trainings and workshops that are available through NASW, all that professional development, it adds up over time. And I think a lot of it is really reasonably priced. It's not like you're going to university again with that kind of pay, that kind of tuition or anything like that. So, but I know that, some people, they see that. And so they really get on the bandwagon early in their career so they can move up in their salary. Does that make sense, Jesus?
Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you, Emma. And then we have another question from Estefany next.
Yeah, I had one of my questions was the same as Jesus's question. But then I guess I was also just kind of wondering, I don't know, it seems pretty complex, so I don't know how much time we want to spend on it. But yeah, just like which type, you said if you had worked at like a previous agency, you could count some of those years in terms of like that column on the left. Is that correct? And then I guess if so, like what types of agencies would qualify for that?
You're correct. It would be, say you did 4 years in a mental health agency and they said, yes, you can count those years. It would move you, from like, 1 year to year 5. And so that increases your salary. Liz, do you know if you have to be in a mental health agency doing clinical work?
I wouldn't think so. If you're a school social worker and that's your certification, then if you're a social worker in, a child welfare agency or Catholic Community Services, doing wraparound or community youth services, that seems equivalent to me.
Right. Child protective services, things like that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. So again, check with the HR department and look at that union contract too, right, Liz? Because some of them it is spelled out in their contracts.
Yes.
But
your union representatives are very helpful. Every school that you work in will have union representatives that are there for you to just go to and say, does this, how does this apply to me? And they will walk you through it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. One more question, Estefany.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
you said it right, Estefany. Thank you. So I got a couple questions here. Please bear with me. And so the trainings and the classes, you mentioned that it's being offered through district and this is for free, correct?
The district will offer you typically 20 to 40 hours a year of free professional development that you don't have to pay for. And then if you want to go out and do additional courses on your own, that contributes to this this additional MA plus.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get those classes to like at UW or or other universities or colleges, correct?
You can. There's lots of ways you can get them.
Okay.
The NASW courses, the ESD courses, any seek out the topics that you're interested in, and they will have 3-hour classes, 6-hour classes, 3-day classes, and there's really a wide variety to choose from.
Okay, sounds good. And also, last question: do they count other experiences as well? Like, for example, because I used to be a teacher, so do they count that as well, or it's just a social work?
If it was
experience.
In a public school, it would for sure. If it was in a public school, you may need to negotiate that if it was a private school or a tribal school, but for a public school, definitely.
Even out of the country, that will be considered?
I don't know the answer to that. I would get with your union rep right away, and they will help you sell that.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Will do.
I just want to mention, I think most of my credits and clock hours were done by going to conferences and by things right in the district, probably the majority. I don't think I ever paid for any university classes. However, some things that I went to that were free, I did have to pay for the clock hours. And sometimes they were like $10 a clock hour or something like that. So, but very reasonable, and you know, everyone under the system is looking for staff development. So those things are always out there, pretty regularly. So I will move on here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and then other ways to earn more money if you have more energy and time is in my district, especially in the 5-school district, as a social worker, I was in the middle school, and I did work in the summers because I was doing student scheduling because I was seen as a counselor. And so my ESA person who was on our bargaining team, which was awesome because she's a school psychologist, but she represented us ESAs during bargaining. She worked really hard and got us even more extra days in the summer. So that was a nice, I think I got maybe 10 extra days paid for. And if you are asked to be on a district level committee, there's often pay around that. You can coach sports and various different things. I did club advising. I developed a book club and a chess club. And it was really, intervention for kids that I had known that probably could enjoy some, social skills, that sort of thing. Well, I did a proposal to the ASB. And so I got a little stipend to have after school clubs. And I spent most of all that money on snacks for the kids. It was, it was really fun. I didn't even know how to play chess, but I just, set it up and facilitated, and I, gave them their snacks. We had a great time. So there's lots of different things you can do. And you can even be a department team leader and sit on that sort of committee for your representing your team or your ESAs in your building. And so there's district and building level sorts of opportunities.
I think one thing that I don't know if this is clear, is that when you are a school social worker under contract, you work the school year schedule. So these additional opportunities in the summer that Tina is referencing are because you have the summer off. And if you want to take up some additional work, make some extra money, or just love doing one of these activities, then that's optional.
Yes, absolutely. When you're looking at job postings, sometimes really read past the titles, because you will find that there's a variety of different things. And I'm seeing more like MTSS coach. There's more creative ways to post jobs. So it may not just be social worker. Also, one of our members, she actually got a job in a district as a social worker, but later, after she was hired, realized she was not getting the pay that she expected because it was a classified position. So certificated employees are those folks that have gone through the OSPI certification. They have, a degree and that sort of thing. So classified employees are wonderful employees that do not necessarily have degrees. And so those are our paraeducators, our bus drivers, all the secretaries, those sorts of folks. And unfortunately, some of a couple of districts that we know of have hired support workers, family support workers, social workers, whatever the title might be, as classified employees. So be watchful of that and make sure it is a certificated posting.
Excuse me, Tina. There
Yes.
was a hand up, but now it's down. Does anybody have a question? Estefany.
Yes, thank you. And so is school social work is considered as certified once you have this ESA certification. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And also follow-up question. So I'm currently taking UDA 588, and I think that's one way to get the ESA certification as well, correct? Because that's what my instructor told me.
Yes.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Absolutely. So here just quickly are some postings giving you an example of what they might look like. And this one, Liz pointed out to me today that it's from Highline. It is opening. And let's see,
That's for fall.
for fall. Yeah.
And
they just
Tina, can
opened
I
it.
read this was posted on our Facebook page by one of our members who put down that this is for a teen parent school social worker. This position would support our pregnant and our parenting students in the district. I would love to see BIPOC or someone with similar lived experience as our students in this role. And I'm happy to support BIPOC folks interested in applying, answering any questions. So at the end, we have our contact information. If you would like to email me, and I could give you that Rosie's contact information.
It looks like a wonderful opportunity there to work with that population. Very wonderful. And yeah, it shows the salary range, probably starting from zero experience on up to the very top. Here is Liz's job when she retired. They posted her job. And Liz, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, what North Thurston did, as I said, was hired licensed, those of us who are licensed are 11 of us, and they had no contracts with like behavioral health organizations come in. Some schools do hire therapists from agencies, but North Thurston had us do that. And we would go out to the schools. I had 3 schools, work with the school counselor and the rest of the staff, and they would have me work with their kind of highest need families. Yeah.
Sounded great. Yeah.
And just, look at when, as Tina said, looking at the postings, they can really be different. And one might be a homeless liaison, and one might be working with foster kids. And you can really look for that position that is your passion.
This one was posted last year in Vancouver for an MTSS coach, or actually I can't see it very well. And I don't think they specifically said school social worker, but I thought, well, when I read this, I thought it's worth a try to apply or explore if they would be willing to have a school social worker involved in that. So definitely, because they're talking about PBIS, they're talking about multi-tiered systems, all of those things that that we are trained for. And then
Tina, excuse me, we have another question from Jennifer.
Just a quick question. Is there a way, in your opinion or with your experience, is there a way to get in the door with these social work employment opportunities as an existing student, or not really?
If you're graduating like next month?
No, I'm not graduating till June 2024. I was just wondering if there's a way to get in the door as a student in some role.
There probably is. again, watch those postings, and you can get on the list in districts, and then you automatically get their job announcements, and you can look for the ones that don't require a master's degree.
Okay, thank you.
Jennifer.
Great. I'm good. Oh, go ahead, Tina.
Well, I was thinking we've had a couple of situations where the district was even willing to hire a student that wasn't even quite done with their degree, especially if they were a second year student. Those are unusual situations, but we have seen that, because if they were really, really needing someone. The other thing is, if you're a student that needs to work part-time while you're finishing your degree, because you have a bachelor's degree, you can get an emergency substitute certificate through OSPI, and you could substitute teach. And that gets your foot in the door, and you can choose when you want to do it, and that way you're exploring different schools. You're getting to know the administrators and the teachers in these schools, and that's a foot in the door in certain districts. So that's a thought. If you have time, or if you need to work, that can be a decent income. And they are very desperate for substitutes. That's for sure.
Tina, we have a request in the chat to look at the previous slide, if that's possible. And just while that's up, I'm just looking at the time, and we are at 7. It's remarkable. So maybe, Tina, if you want to finish through your slides, and then we could have for people who are able to stay, we could take questions in. Does that sound okay?
Perfect. And we were at our last slide. So thank you so much for everyone being here. And yes, best wishes for your career journeys. Here are our emails. If you want to contact us, we're here to support you. And yes, please stay if you have more questions. Oh, I just want to mention, this recording will be posted, and Michelle's going to post it probably on the UW website. We'll have it on our Washington Association of School Social Workers website, and the PowerPoint itself will be posted, so you can take a look at the links or go back and reread some things. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tina and Liz. It looks like we do have one question. Estefany. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Yes, thank you so much for being patient with me. I'm just so curious. Are you guys able to send this recorded session through my email, or we just need to go to that website?
I think we can, right? I'm not totally sure how the recordings work.
Yeah, well,
Jeremy's going to tell us.
Yeah, I think we actually, if we have the contact information, we can send out the link if we have contact information for everybody who attended, and then in addition to posting.
Perfect.
I believe it'll be available for 90 days.
Okay, sounds good to me. Thank you so much. And also another question regarding the one that you guys posted about, I think it's the Highland Public School social worker and stuff like that. So I guess my question is, I'll be graduating this fall, and I'll be graduating my MSW this fall. Am I qualified for that position? Because it says a date available is 9/1/2022. And so I'm just kind of curious if they consider that, or it's case-to-case basis. It depends on the district.
I would guess, I'd love to get you in touch with Rosie. She's a social worker in the district. Neat woman. She can probably walk you through that.
Okay.
Especially, I think it will be a case-by-case basis, and it depends on if they get very many applicants. When you say graduating in the fall, do you mean at the end of the fall quarter?
At the end of the fall quarter, because I'm just doing my, I'm part of CTAP, and so they just count 24. I'm just doing my how to call this, a practicum, specialist practicum, and they only count 24 hours per week, which is, doesn't make sense, but it doesn't make sense. I'm like, anyways, so it's just, yeah, I'm like,
Okay. Yeah, that might work. And I, Rosie would be a great advocate to help you with that.
yes, please. Can I get her information, please?
I'm just looking on my list. I have you're at yahoo.com.
Yes,
I will
that's
send that to you.
appreciate it so
Also-
much. Thank you. I'm so interested with it.
Great.
Stefani, also in the chat, there is somebody who has is either with Highline or is knowledgeable about the Highline district. So please look in the chat there
Oh,
also.
okay. Perfect. Yeah, and so yeah, I'm very interested because I used to work with Des Moines PD and I work with CPS as well. So yeah,
That's
it's just
great.
it's a good community. Like if when I was investigating cases, I get the IEPs right away to the direct person, but she already retired. But I got very good how to call this, relationship with that area.
Love it.
Thank you so much.
I will
Appreciate you
send that.
guys.
Yes.
I have a question. If it looks like no one else will.
Yes.
For this one, I guess is more for Jeremy. I am interested in the continued education. So once I graduate, I already signed a contract with my current employment to stay there for the year. But if I can continue my education during that year, so when I do apply for a school position the following, I just want to be, I guess, further along, and I want to see what classes or how do I sign up for those again.
So NASW and other folks provide continuing education. And so for Liz, for example, she's an LICSW and an ESA. So she's looking for something that would have the OSPI clock hours, approved clock hours through OSPI. On OSPI's website, if you search OSPI clock hour providers, it provides you a whole list of all these different organizations that offer continuing education specific to school social workers or ESAs. And so that would be one place to start. With NASW, our members get discounted continuing education. We also have online continuing education, distance learning through our national office. I think only NASW Washington chapter, not the NASW National, is listed as an OSPI provider though. So that would be something to check that list with OSPI, and then always check in with us or the schools. Of course, the School Social Work Association is kind of the holder of the keys on a lot of the continuing education opportunities specific to school social work. Does that make sense, Jesus?
Yeah, I believe it covers it. I will be looking how to sign up for the NSW Washington following this as well.
Well, we hope to see you all in our
I just wanted to
schools.
thank you guys. Sorry, I just wanted to thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.